Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are on a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host, Deb Rivera.
Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon and welcome. Happy New Year to all of you, and welcome to our team's first webinar of 2023. My name is Deb Rivera, and I will be the host for today's webinar, Data.Census.gov News and Updates, January of 2023. Today, you will learn about some of the updates that have been made to Data.Census.gov since October of 2022, including simplified URLs, new accessibility features, improved selection of map layers, and also new population pyramids in the profiles. For this webinar event, I am joined by my colleagues, and we will be supporting our speaker by monitoring the chat, sending you helpful links, and also answering as many questions as we can. We are encouraging participants to use the Q&A panel in WebEx to submit questions. If you look to the chat panel, you will also find links and other helpful information entered there. We will have a live Q&A session towards the end of the webinar today. We are allowing one question per participant. Participants who would like to ask a question are welcome to use the raise hand icon, and that will appear next to your name in WebEx. That will prompt us to open up your line, and then you'll be able to unmute yourself to ask a question. Please note that the Q&A session will focus on the platform, data.census.gov. We will not be able to go in depth to address questions on 2020 census products or data. And as always, we are recording this webinar today, and all of the materials for the training will be available through the Census Academy website. Thank you all so much for joining us. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Tyson Weister. Thank you, Tyson.
Thanks, Deb, and thank you all so much for joining the webinar, Data.Census.gov News and Updates. My name is Tyson Weister. I work on the communications team for Data.Census.gov. So for today, I am very excited to share with you the latest updates that we've been working on for Data.Census.gov since October. Our game plan for today is to highlight these updates first comprehensively, but briefly in slide format, where we're going to update by update show you each of the items that were improved with those releases. Then we selected some of the most significant improvements that we would like to demonstrate for you on the live site, so you can see that very clearly and reinforce what was changed with the release. And finally, we'll open up for your questions at the end. Before we dive into the updates, I did want to take a moment first to thank all of the data users that have worked with us and given feedback. So we analyze all the emails that come in to us for data questions or suggestions on how we can improve the site, and we collect feedback through other sources as well. Through those methods, we analyze the suggestions that are being asked of us, we prioritize those, and then our developers implement those solutions in the test environment. So those will go through a formal testing period, and then eventually they get released to the public site on data.census.gov. Today, we are going to talk about the updates that were pushed live since October. So thank you again. If you have submitted feedback to us, we appreciate your comments on how we can improve the site. For the purpose of today, we wanted to focus on a few of those updates. So geography profile enhancements, new accessibility features, mapping improvements, table display updates, new share buttons added throughout the site, landing page educational materials, simplified URLs, and technical updates and fixes to defects. Again, these are updates that were applied to the site since October. A few of the items that we're going to be talking about today actually won't be going live until tomorrow, but we did want to bundle in while we had your attention and we're talking about updates and talk about them all at once. So more details on that to come. For now, we'll go ahead and get started with these updates. Just to show you, again, they hit across a variety of sections of our website and different features. But to break this down for you step by step, starting with the geography profile enhancements, my favorite feature that I'm excited to share with you are the new population pyramids. So we received a lot of feedback from our users. Everyone knows the Census Bureau is the official source of data for population pyramids. We didn't have the information in this visual format on data.census.gov before these releases. So I've grabbed a screen capture of a population pyramid for Bloomington City, Indiana, just to showcase a good use case for population pyramids and how you can visually digest the information that's shown to you very quickly. So from this population pyramid, you can see in just seconds that it's a little unusual, right? There's a large group in the 20 to 24 years old. You may know that Indiana University happens to be located in Bloomington City, Indiana, but if you didn't know that, this population pyramid would make that pretty clear to you at a glance in seconds. And as opposed to digesting this information in a table format, you're able to draw conclusions a lot more quickly and make sense of the information provided to you. We're going to take a look at this on the live site, but just for now, pointing out to you on the left-hand side, what you're getting is the population for male, shown in blue. On the right-hand side, female, shown in yellow. And then you're getting those 5-year age increments as you go up. These population pyramids are added to all geography profiles where the age and sex section is available for that profile. So what that means is you can access these at the national level, states, counties, cities, towns, American Indian area, Alaska Native area, Hawaiian homelands, congressional districts, and school districts. Moving on, also with the geography profile, we implemented enhanced line charts to better describe 2020 data and the connection between 2019 and 2021. So specifically, for any line chart, in this screenshot, I'm looking at health insurance over time. We implemented visual cues to let you know that the 2020 data for this particular data variable is not being shown in this line chart. Your visual cue is that there is no square for 2020 indicated, and the line connecting the data point for 2019 to 2021 is connected with that dotted line instead of a solid line. Directly underneath the line chart, you'll also see short messaging letting you know that the 2020 ACS one-year estimates aren't shown in the chart above because those estimates were released as ACS experimental data release. And finally, I wanted to show you something that's coming tomorrow on data.census.gov for the profiles. Specifically on the all results page, we improved the summary text that you see for the profiles. So if you were to pull up the same search today, what I'm showing is a screenshot where I've selected Alaska and I'm on the all results page, and on the right-hand side of the page, what you'll see is the map for Alaska and the view profile button. If you access today, you would be getting some key text about the land area and neighboring geographies, if applicable. What we're adding tomorrow is replacing that text with more useful data highlights to you. So this provides some of the most popular data that the Census Bureau offers at a glance. Just in case you want to quickly use that information, you'll get total population, median income, and more. And also gives you a better sense as to what you can explore in more detail when you actually open the profile. Again, we'll show this on the live site, but just wanted to highlight at a glance what that is now. Moving on outside of the profile, so we're excited about accessibility features. Specifically, we added a new accessibility control panel. You'll access the panel in the lower left side of your screen where you see a circle with a person icon in the middle. Once you click that circle, it will open up the accessibility controls. So lots of options here for you to adjust content scaling, apply dark mode, adjust light, dark contrast, low brightness, low or high saturation, monochrome, hue or color shift, large cursor, invert colors, and useful links. We are going to walk through this step by step so you can visually see what these buttons do, but just wanted to provide that information at a high level, what the update is. Going hand in hand with accessibility, another feature that we added is the ability to access the single search bar with a key And specifically, you'll be clicking or pressing the / key to the left of your shift bar. That is going to put your cursor into the single search bar. That's an option for you to access the single search bar without having to use your mouse in order to get your cursor there. So it's helpful if you wanted to go ahead and add search criteria or edit the search criteria you've already typed into the single search bar. We are going to show those on the live site as well as these mapping improvements. For the mapping improvements, one of the biggest features that we pushed with this release is the grid view for layers. So for your layer for your map, that means it's your primary geographic level for your map. You can have one layer selected at a time. So no new functionality or features in terms of what the layer button does or how to access layers in general or how they behave once you actually select a layer. What is new is that when you click the button, you'll see a grid option. So at the top, there's actually a list button, and to the right of that is a grid button. The grid button will list or spell out side by side all of the different levels of geography you can choose from to apply as a layer, and it also gives you an image to correspond with that rather than just the text stating region, division, state, county, etc. It just gives you more information about the type of geography you would be selecting before you actually select it, in an additional way for you to change your layer. All right, and then also with maps, another improvement, it's actually applied to both tables and maps. On the right-hand side of the toolbar, we've added a chevron that allows you to collapse or expand the toolbar. So to take this a step back, by default, you'll typically see your options on the toolbar with the icons as well as the text. So variables and the text, select text and the icon above. When you collapse that layer or that toolbar, you'll see just the text available to you. So it just gives you a little bit more vertical space on your screen to view your map or your table, and you can still continue to click the text at the top in order to access the functionality, even though the icons are collapsed. We will look at that at the live site. In the meantime, wanted to highlight a couple additional updates to the table displays. One is that we added the full display of surveys and programs at the top of all of your table and maps. So this is a screenshot just showing one of our longer table labels. In this case, it's showing you the program title for Decennial Census of Island Areas, and you can in fact see that the full label is being shown for clarity. Another helpful feature in regards to table updates is for economic data tables. So in instances where you selected multiple geographies of different levels, what we've done with this release is applied logic to make sure that those geographies are shown in an order that's going to make sense to you. So specifically, if you selected the nation, the United States, and you selected all states, you'll notice that the US appears at the top, the states appear below, and if you had selected counties, those would appear below the states, and smaller geographies included below that. And another exciting update are share buttons that have been added throughout the site. So this is a two-part update. One is the inclusion of the buttons themselves. So you'll notice in the top screenshot that I'm showing, there's a share button that has been added to every table and map that you can click in order to share the results that you're seeing on screen. On the bottom, you'll also notice that we added share buttons to the profiles. When you click those buttons, you'll notice a pop-up window that will appear. So with that pop-up window, what we've added are options to share via social media at the click of a button. We want to make it as easy as possible once you've gone through the steps to find data that's useful in order for you to share that with a larger audience. So you can click for Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as the email icon if you'd like to share the results via email. Included below, you'll also see link and a copy button. This will allow you to copy the URL to your clipboard in case you'd like to paste it or save it elsewhere for yourself or share it in another way by pasting. So the copy button at the bottom works seamlessly and identically to as if you had grabbed the URL from your address bar. We found from our users that they love having the ability to grab the URL from their address bar and save their results. However, we had comments that not every data user knew that it was intuitive that they could do that. So some users were actually looking for a share button and weren't able to see it before. So that's one reason why we added it. And then again, it gives us the additional options to include these more convenient links for you. With that said, I wanted to take a moment now to let you know that some of these features of what I'm showing right now have been applied to this site today. So you'll see some of those share buttons. We're adding more share buttons tomorrow, and all of the social media and email buttons that you see will not be applied until tomorrow. So be on the lookout for those, but we're going to take a look at them today in this webinar on a test or a preview site. Another update is that we enhance the educational materials on the landing page. We want to make it as easy as possible for folks that are just getting started with our site to explore how-to materials. So when you scroll towards the bottom of the landing page, you'll notice some additional links. You can click the blue Started or Explore Resources words in order to access some of those educational materials. And we also added 3 videos for you to help get started using the site. Also wanted to take a moment to mention simplified URLs. So what this means is that we removed the part of all data.census.gov URLs, the part that's /cedsci. With that said, if you had saved any URLs before this update was applied, those URLs will continue to work and direct as accordingly to the correct search results table, map, etc. However, moving forward, you will no longer see /cedsci included in the URL. We just want to make them as readable as possible, and that portion of the URL was not providing informational usefulness to our users, so we removed that. All right, so that is step-by-step the visual updates that you can see on our site. I did want to take a moment to mention that during this period of time from October to January, our developers also worked on behind-the-scenes technical updates to improve the site as well. So in those efforts, some of the updates they work towards help improve external search engines like Google, their ability to better understand and link to the content on our site, or in other words, search engine optimization. Technical updates also applied to reduce load times for long lists in the filter panels or map drop-down menus. Also updates to improve screen scaling to help ensure content fits correctly and is readable to you. And updates to allow for the possibility of comparisons for multiple geographies in a single geography profile. As always, along with those technical updates, we apply fixes to defects with almost every release. Over the course of October, we have applied fixes to 75 defects. I'll leave these here just for a moment for you on screen of some of the highlights. And if you'd like to take a more detailed look, please visit the link at the bottom. That is going to walk through all of the details from these releases. It's the link to our developmental updates or release notes webpage. All right, so with that overview of the updates that were applied, I wanted to transition to showing you them on our site. Before we get there, though, wanted to point out again, some of the updates that I mentioned are not going to data.census.gov until tomorrow. With that said, you may remember from previous updates webinar that we released a Canary website accessible by going to data.canary.census.gov, and that is for you to access a sneak peek of some developments before they actually get pushed to the standard data.census.gov website. So both of these websites are publicly accessible, data.census.gov and data.canary.census.gov. As it stands today, the updates that you'll see in the Canary website that are not yet available on data.census.gov are the ones listed on the right-hand side of the screen. It is the data highlights for the all results page, those key statistics that you see for geography profiles. You'll also see more share buttons, specifically on the maps and the profiles. And then for all of the share buttons on the Canary site, you'll see the social media buttons and email buttons in the pop-up window that appears. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you the first demonstration on the Canary site, just so that I can capture the updates that are coming tomorrow. This is, again, publicly accessible as a sneak peek, so you are welcome to follow along data.canary.census.gov. And what I'm going to focus on first is the profile and share button improvements. So we're going to look at population pyramids, those data highlights, line charts, and the share buttons. And I'm going to pull this up for Alaska. So going to the site, data.canary.census.gov, and press enter. I am going to search for the profile. So first thing, search for my geography. Here I'll type Alaska and press enter. In the upper left, always a good idea to confirm that the site is recognizing the text you entered as expected. So we're seeing a nice match for Alaska. On the right-hand side, you'll see a map, the view profile link. And again, if you're on the Canary site or visiting our standard website tomorrow, you will be seeing these data highlights appear. So just nice to see total population, median household income, percent bachelor's degree or higher, employment rate, total housing units, percent without health insurance, total employer establishments, total households, and Hispanic or Latino at a glance. This allows you to access the data very quickly. Also, when you click the view profile, it gives you a sense of the information that you can explore in more detail by opening up the profile. So those same estimates are what will appear at the very top of the profile page as they have in the past. Scrolling down, just want to review again those new population pyramids. In our profiles, you'll see high-level information for each section. So here we're looking at median age in Alaska compared to the US, and a visualization included below or on the map on the right-hand side of the screen. So the profiles have over 40 different sections of what I'm showing, and you can see just how easy it is. The population pyramids are to access. They're included right here at the top. For Alaska, you'll notice pretty quickly that it isn't an even triangle. There are certainly population groups that have a higher proportion of the state's population in certain groups and other groups with lower proportion of their population in those groups. For instance, we can see the highest population proportion in the 25 to 29-year-old age range. So just kind of interesting to visually digest this information in a different way to how it was provided in the past. I'm going to go ahead and click the Health tab at the top. Wanted to show you that updated line chart as well. Within the health section of the profile, there's actually 3 different options. So you'll get disability data first, women who have given birth, and then you'll get to the health insurance section, which I want to focus on for the purpose of this demonstration. Again, similar to what I showed on the screenshot, you'll see health insurance indicated over time since 2014. For 2020, you'll see that dotted line in no data value. And then below is that note explaining that the data are intentionally not included in this chart because the 2020 products were released as experimental data release. If you would like to learn more about the ACS experimental data release, we do conveniently include a link for you to access detailed information. Moving back to the profile, last things I wanted to share are the buttons. So at the very top, you'll notice new buttons starting tomorrow, allowing you to share an entire profile. So I'm going to click the Share Profile button. When you click that button, again, you'll see those new social media icons, the link, And then all of the share options on the profile will continue to include the embed option, which has the iframe code if you would like to code this into your website. This link at the very top would share the entire profile. As you scroll down, you'll also notice that there continue to be links to share and embed individual sections of the profile. So just to show you how this works, I'm going to click and open up the content for this particular share that you see directly above the population pyramid. Once you load up that link, here I have it in another tab working, it is going to work to load just that one visualization that you copied. So depending on what you want to share with your audience, you have a variety of share links to choose from on the profile page. Last thing I just want to point out very quickly, when I click on any table here, I'm just going to click the source table for this population pyramid data, S0101. In case you haven't noticed them already, again, at the top of your table toolbar, there is a relatively new share button. And when you click it tomorrow, you'll see those social media icons added as well. So we hope you enjoy those new features. Want to also take a moment to change gears and show you on the live site our new accessibility features. So these features are made available specifically to make sure that our website is accessible to the entire population, even for population that may have a disability in trying to access the data on our site. But with that said, the features that are available are appealing to anyone who may be using our site. So I think you're going to find some of this information helpful, regardless of any specific information that you may be needing from our website or any additional features that you may be looking for. For now, I'm going to go to data.census.gov and I'm just going to switch off the Canary site, just because all of these features that I'm showing from here on out have all been publicly or previously applied and are available on the public site. So first thing I wanted to show you was that hotkey. So your visual indication that there is a hotkey is the slash icon here in the single search bar. So I'm going to go ahead and stop using my mouse, and to the left of my shift key, press the /. Notice my cursor went into the single search bar, and I'm going to type income and press enter. I was able to do that all by using my keyboard. Once you've ran the search, notice at the very top of the screen, I can once again press the / key. That will put my cursor back into the single search bar, and this allows me to conveniently delete my search criteria or add to it. So here I'm just going to add Maryland, press enter again, and that's going to rerun my search for income Maryland, all again conveniently accessible through my keyboard. Changing gears, I'd like to go ahead and show you the accessibility control panel. First, I'm going to click the US Census logo in the upper left. I'm going to switch between different parts of the website as I show these features. And I wanted to start from the landing page, but before I do that, I did want to mention that the control panel is accessible to you at any point in the website. So you don't have to be on the landing page to open this up. I'm going to go ahead at this point and click in the lower left, that person icon. And we're going to walk through these quickly, but one by one. First, starting with content scaling. So you can use this option to adjust the zoom level specifically for the data.census.gov website on your screen. So just an additional option for you to change that scaling. As I go through, I'm going to click the reset settings button in between each option so you can clearly see the difference between each individual selection and how they function independently. You can apply more than one of these at the same time. Next, dark mode. This will, as you probably guessed, apply that dark background with light fonts. So some people may find this more visually appealing or easier on their eyes. Next, I'd like to show you the light and dark contrast. So I'm going to reset the settings, but I'd like to actually display this from the table results page just so we can see these features a little bit more easily for you. So specifically for light contrast, when I apply that button, here I'm going to go ahead and open the control panel and click light contrast. Notice the default view before I select that. The table looks pretty similar between the rows. When you apply light contrast, you're just going to see those differences between light colors made much more noticeable for you. So adjusting it on or off, you can see those colors appear more noticeably different from each other when light contrast is applied. The downside is that when you have applied light contrast, any differences in dark colors are going to be less noticeable. So your dark colors are going to blend together more, your light colors are going to stand out more. On the flip side, if you apply dark contrast, your dark colors will stand out from each other more, but your light colors will start to blend together. So notice in the table itself, there's actually lines that appear in the table, and if you apply dark contrast, those almost go away from view. So all this to say, you could set one of these more permanently if you prefer one of those options, or you can toggle between if you were in a situation where you found one to be particularly helpful for you, or just go with the default view. Moving on to the next, there's low brightness, which will just decrease the overall brightness in case it's easier for you. Next, I'd like to go back to the landing page and we'll talk about the buttons for low and high color saturation. So when you click the low color saturation, what we're going to notice is that all of our colors change to a more grayish tone. So it's all going to be closer to a pure gray. Those blue will be grayish. These greens are more grayish compared to the default color. And on the other side, when you apply high saturation, all of the colors are going to appear more intense and vivid. So different options for you. To the right of this, there's monochrome if you'd prefer to view the site in grayscale. And then you'll see below that hue shift. So this allows you to shift up to 360 degrees between the different colors in the color wheel. So we started at blue. As I'm clicking through these, I'm getting to purple, pinks, reds, orange, you'll get to green, and etc. So if you have a certain preference, you can apply it. I'm going to reset back to the default view. Moving on, I happen to have a large cursor applied automatically just because I give demonstrations. But if you wanted to apply a large cursor conveniently, not through your computer settings, but just for the duration of time while you were on this particular web page, we have added that option for you, very accessible to you through this panel. So when you click large cursor here, you'll get a large blue pointer. Next is invert colors. So this will change all of your colors to the opposite color on the color wheel. So in this case, it actually happens to apply colors that happen to be very Halloween themed. I hope that you're as excited as I am to be accessing data.census.gov on holidays, and know that you do have options to adjust colors if you would like to theme your web page. Last section wanted to point out for you is the useful links. So this is just another option for you to access key links across our site. Many of them are accessible through the header at the top, the footer at the very bottom of the page, and some helpful links throughout as well. Just another option for you to get to those useful links. And last thing, while I happen to be on this page, did want to scroll down here to the educational materials that we recently added. Again, these are clickable links in blue to get to our help website. We'll talk more about that later, and we also hope you check out these videos. Right, last thing I wanted to show were our map improvements. Specifically, wanted to point out the grid view on our live site in that collapse option. For this demonstration, what I wanted to do was imagine that you wanted to select congressional districts in Missouri. So through this, I'm going to show you the new features. For now, we'll go back to the live site. And when you can select your geography through the map, it's called the selection map. If you click Maps in the upper right of the screen, it's going to take you directly to the selection map. So on the left-hand side here, we'll see Selection Map. and then we see our buttons at the top. So what we're going to be talking about is the layer. Again, that's the primary geography for our map. You can only have one level of geography selected at a time for your layer. And by default, if you haven't made any selection, your layer will be state. You can see that indicated in the legend. And also when you hover over your map, it's interacting at the state level. So your layer is what's going to allow you to select individual geographies on your map, or once you've selected them and are clicked into one of the tables on the left, you could map data out for that particular selection of geography. In our example, we had mentioned wanting to access data at the congressional district level. So in this case, you could click the layer button. And on the top of the screen, what we're showing today is the grid view. So you'll see list view and grid view. You may need to toggle between whichever one you prefer. We're going to start with the grid view. That's new. Notice that you get each of the boundaries that are available to you and an image that helps you get a preview for what those boundaries are. So it just gives you more information up front. This is also showing an outline in orange for state, which is also telling us that the state layer is currently selected. Now we wanted congressional district, so I'm going to scroll through looking for that option here. You can see that there are a wide variety of geographies you can choose from the Census Bureau, but once you scroll through, you'll see Congressional District 116th and a map showing congressional districts. Notice the boundaries are in blue, just gives me a preview. Once I click that, this is what the map is going to look like. At the bottom of the legend, we see Congressional District 116th in blue. And for my example, I wanted to select those congressional districts in Missouri. There are multiple ways you can go about selecting. This isn't a how-to webinar on how to make those selections. We do have recorded mapping webinars and workshops if you'd like to learn about some of those steps I did and many more features that are available through our map with hands-on practice. But for today, I just wanted to focus on the update. So once you make selections, I just also wanted to point out with the layer, if you don't want to scroll through this long list, we continue at the very top to have that search bar. So if you knew right off the bat, hey, I want congressional district, you can continue to type that into the search bar that appears in the layer and narrow down. You can see there are 3 possible options related to congressional districts that appear rather than a long list to scroll through. And in addition, if you prefer the list view over the new grid view, you can switch between the different options by clicking at the top. With this, not only do we continue to provide the options for layers in a list as they were provided before these updates were applied, but we improved on this further by adding the 3-digit summary level code. So if you know that geography code, it's a more additional and convenient way for you to reference and access the geographic level you may be looking for. All right, closing out of this, last thing I wanted to show, again, is that collapsing of the toolbar here. I'm just going to click the chevrons and you see we get that little bit more space vertically for us to look at our table or map. And also wanting to point out, when you click the buttons, even though there's no icon for layer anymore, these still function as they would when the icons are displayed. All right, so as we start transitioning over to questions, we did want to take a moment to let you know what we're continuing to work on to improve in upcoming releases. We will be working towards enhancements for geography profiles, maps, search, and continuing to incorporate user feedback. If you'd like to stay up to date on the latest system updates, an easy way is to sign up for email alerts. So you can visit the link on the left-hand side of the screen or use that QR code right now in the upper right. Once you visit that link, you'll have an opportunity to type in your email address and then select the checkbox for data.census.gov updates. This will provide you our monthly newsletter to alert you to the latest system enhancements, educational opportunities, and data releases to help you make the most of the site, as well as our workshop and webinar offerings. And again, we thank everyone who has communicated with us, sending data questions or suggestions on how we can make the site work better. We encourage you to continue to do so. You can shoot us an email at census.data@census.gov or simply click the link under the single search bar for feedback. And before we transition over to questions, I did want to take a moment underneath the single search bar. There's also a button called Help. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. This will take you to our data.census.gov resources page, and wanted to show you this, one, because it's a very helpful web page for resources, and two, because today we refreshed this web page and pushed the changes live. So if you visited this website in the past, you'll notice an improved look and feel and improved layout. I wanted to take a moment just to point out a few links that are very helpful. At the top, you'll see options to navigate between some of the different content on this resources page. One thing I think you'll find very beneficial is the events section. There is an option for webinars and an option for workshops. So if you wanted to join some of these opportunities, they are just a click away to you. For workshops, if you were to go ahead and open that up, here I'm going to show it to you very briefly. I did want to take a moment to mention that we continue to add new workshop topics and support workshop topics that we've offered in the past. So one of the new offerings that you'll notice for the upcoming month is the basics of using the Census API. Wanted to alert you to that. Also on our resources page, under guidance, you'll find helpful information in terms of PDFs for how to access materials on our website, how to frequently ask questions, and more. And we have mentioned our data.census.gov updates page, or developmental updates. On our slides is where you'll find information about latest releases that we covered today, and you can continue to check back on this page regularly to stay up to date. Scrolling down through the page, I just also wanted to mention on the landing page itself, we have added some of the most helpful content in a variety of formats and options for you to explore. So definitely hope that you take the opportunity to browse all of the resources that are available and the new layout of this refreshed webpage. Deb, we are ready to start transitioning towards your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyson. Thank you for sharing all that wonderful information. So in just a few moments, as Tyson stated, we will begin our question and answer session. Today, we will be taking your questions over the WebEx audio. A few reminders: we are allowing one question per participant. After you've asked your question, if you have a remaining one, you're more than welcome to queue up again. If you would like to queue up for a question, you can use the raise hand icon, and that's located right next to your name or at the bottom of the screen. That will prompt us to open up your line. You will then need to unmute yourself on your end, and you can ask your question. If you'd like to start queuing up for questions now, you're more than welcome to do so. But before we start opening up the lines, I would like to take this opportunity to invite you all to share your thoughts about today's webinar with us through an evaluation survey. You already know how important your feedback is for our data platform, and it's no different for our webinars. The feedback that you provide to us through this evaluation helps us design future webinars, future workshops, and it also lets us know how we can improve these sessions that we are currently hosting. The link to the evaluation is in the chat box now. It also has all of the information that you need to fill it out. And with that, if you have any questions remaining after our session concludes, please feel free to reach out to one of the two email inboxes that you see here. If you are a member of the public, please feel free to reach out for the Center for Enterprise Dissemination at census.data@census.gov. And members of the media can contact our public information office at pio@census.gov. So with that, let's go ahead and see if we have any questions in the queue. Again, as a reminder, you can use the raise hand icon next to your name to let us know that you have a question. I'll just give that a moment. I am not seeing any. Oh, we have one. I apologize. Oh, it looks like, all right. Lisa, let's go ahead and unmute Howard's line, please. All right, thank you, Howard. If you can hear me and you have unmuted yourself, you're welcome to ask your question.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, hi.
Hi. I'm intrigued with the information that has been offered, not just for the public, but on this media platform that you guys offer. It's good to know you have these different features. I just started following up on different trainings, signed up last week, as I am a survey supervisor for the census. So it's very interesting how many platforms we have to gather this information and actually put it in on this the media platform. So my job is to gather the information and then just to see it online being gathered and put into the different states or areas that it needs to be implied. I think this is very important, especially for those who do their researchers to do their research. I don't particularly have a question, but I will be diving in more to make aware my team for their upcoming survey in the near future.
Great. Thank you so much for the feedback. I'm glad that you found this helpful. And there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that the data that we showed today and the tools are publicly available and accessible. So we appreciate all the work across the Bureau that goes into this. So thank you for your team's work. And I'm glad that this was helpful for you to see some of the ways that the public are able to access and the latest features of it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for your question. I'm not seeing any other questions in the queue, but we did get a question in the chat or in the Q&A panel for you, Tyson. The question reads, do you plan to add economic development districts as a geographical option?
Great, thank you for that question as well. Personally, I have not familiar with that geography. What I can say at a high level in terms of geographic availability on our site is we provide data for whatever geographies the individual survey or program chooses to produce their data tables for, and our census geographies. So in terms of would it be made available on the site, we're only able to support geographic availability for the levels of geography that this individual survey or program provides the data for. So I'm not aware of that particular geography at this point in time, but if you wanted to write in your question, we could research this a little further and see if there's any additional information or guidance that we could point you towards.
Great, yes, and I'll go ahead and send our email address in the chat in case anybody does want to reach out to us after today's concluded. Thank you for that, Tyson. We do have a question in the queue. Lisa, let's go ahead and unmute Foley's line. And I apologize if I said that incorrectly. Okay, it looks like you are unmuted. If you can, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, the name was Foley, so it's correct.
Okay, great.
Thank you for this great opportunity. I am new in searching on census.gov, and the training material are very helpful, and I'm working on it. But since we are here, I wanted to ask a direct question to see if you can point me in the right direction, so I don't have to struggle too much. So I wanted to know about the African diaspora communities, geographical repartition in the U.S. in the last 30 years. So that's my, my concern.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So I can just give you some pointers as a high level, and I would also encourage you to write us in if you'd like some step-by-step and more detailed instructions. But as far as getting you started, what I would recommend in that case is clicking on the advanced search. And on the left-hand side for topics, I just wanted to point out that we have a topic for race and ethnicity. And actually, I'll start with that since it's the most common way to access the data that I think you're referencing, and then I'll add some more details at the end. So on the left, topics and the folder, race and ethnicity, there's a checkbox for race and ethnicity. So I would probably recommend starting with this higher level checkbox, but there are a variety of ways to access this information. The Census Bureau provides a lot of information broken out by race and ethnicity. And from here, you could add in additional geographies, or if you wanted national level data, start exploring the tables. You can see on the left-hand side that those geography filters are available to you on the left. And through this, you'll see that the data tables will either have Black or African American in the row of the data table, so you could follow and look at the data points. This particular table is providing data from the 2020 census at the state level. Some of the data tables will include Black or African American in the table title. So a couple different places you could look for it. Hopefully that's helpful to get you started. And in terms of the last 30 years, currently we have data on our site back to Census 2000. So that will get you back to 20 years if that's useful for you. If you truly need the data for 30 years, I would also, again, encourage writing us in and we can direct you to other sites. Data.census.gov is meant to have the most current and complete data for recent releases, but we aren't a historical archive of all the information that's ever been released from the Census Bureau. Hopefully that's helpful as a starting point, and again, encourage you to connect with us.
Great, thank you so much. We did receive another question via the Q&A panel, and this question reads, is there another place, for instance, a map or table page, where you can find a population pyramid that can be downloaded as a PDF or JPEG?
Yeah, thank you for the question. There is not currently a page to do what you're describing. What I would say is, I'm actually not going to go through the steps to access it again, but if you recall from the demonstration, there is a share button above the population pyramid. So you could, the closest thing that hits at what you're offering would be to go ahead and use the share button, open the link in a new tab just for the population pyramid, and maybe take a screenshot, or you could try to see if you could save it as a PDF on the web page and how that may format. Again, that functionality has not been officially developed or anything like that, so I don't know for sure what it would look like, but those would be my two starting points, would be to take a screenshot, or you could try pressing Control-P and seeing how that would look. And we definitely appreciate the comment that you mentioned and would consider the specifics as potential enhancements as we improve the site in the future. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much for the question, and thank you, Tyson, for answering them. It doesn't look like we have any other questions in the queue, and yeah, I'll turn it right back over to you.
All right, well, just as we wrap up, I wanted to, as always, remind you about our resources page. I showed you the updated look of the resources page on the live site, so I'm not going to talk in detail about it now, but just a reminder that there are a wide variety of materials available to you. Also on this slide, wanted to point out If you have data questions, again, please email us at census.data@census.gov. And if you have a training request, there's a couple options available to you. If it's a training request for data.census.gov, we do encourage you to visit our outreach team at ced.cedsci.outreach@census.gov. So that will take you to our team, which is the communications area for the website overall. Lastly, as a final resource, we also have local data dissemination specialists that are assigned to your area. So there is a data dissemination specialist assigned to your state in case you're a local organization or want to work with someone who is local to you that works at the Census Bureau and specializes in data. You can contact them by reaching out to 1-844-ASK-DATA or census.askdata@census.gov. In addition to them being available as a resource, they specialize on census.gov/academy. This training resource is hosted as part of Census Academy. And in addition, on Census Academy, you would find other resources across the Census Bureau. So educational materials, not just for data.census.gov, but other tools, surveys, programs, and topics. Again, I wanted to thank you all so much for joining the webinar, engaging with your questions, and we hope to see you at a future webinar. Thank you so much.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.